Hi guys, this is Alex. Today for our class, we're going to go ahead and go over kind of like an InDesign for Dummies. I'm going to show you some tips and tricks on how to improve the look of your resume inside InDesign. I find this is a lot easier to use versus Word, and you can get a lot done a lot quicker. I was able to do this in a full 35 minutes, although I did compress it into 18 minutes for this purpose of the video. So watch, enjoy, and have fun creating. Let's get started. If you don't have InDesign in your doc, we're going to go to Spotlight Search. And we're going to type in InDesign. We're going to open the program. You'll hit Create New, and we're going to pick our page size. So we are working in inches and not picas, so we're going to change that. Make sure 8.5 by 11 is your standard sheet of paper. Check your margins for 1/2 inch margins. You can preview, and then hit Create. We're going to make the screen a little larger, and we'll go over some tools. So we have our Direct Selection tool, our Type tool, and our rectangular frame tool. Those are going to be the main three that we use today. So we're going to start with the type tool, and we're going to click and drag and create a text box. I like to stick to the margins of the page just so that everything is centered and even. I'm going to start by typing my name, and we're going to adjust the size a little bit because obviously this is way too small for a resume. Your name should be the biggest thing on the page. So you can see as I make the text box smaller, my name kind of disappears and you get that red box with the plus sign. That means that there's an error as indicated at the bottom of the page. That typically means that there's oversized text or something isn't quite fitting in your text box. So right now I'm pulling from the rulers on the side and creating little guidelines. Now these are grids. As you can see, I'm quickly entering all my information, making sure that everything's going to fit accordingly, trying to make sure that all my spacing is correct. I find it easier just to input all the information first, then kind of go in and edit text size, your placement. Now you can see I got rid of the grids real quick. You can do that by pressing the W key, and that is going to show you what your paper will look like without all of the extra tick markings and whatnots. So we're going to go over some character style stuff. We're going to go into type, which I will find in a second, and we're going to click character. That'll be your quick fix for anything as far as your type, your font, your size, and all that good stuff. We're then going to go into type again, and we're going to go into character styles. This is going to be something that'll help give you a tool so you can quickly add different fonts but kind of make them into like subsections, whether it's your title, your subtitle, and body text and whatnot. So you can see InDesign gives you a lot of fonts to choose from. Personally, I like to find my own fonts. So you're going to go to Google Fonts, and by doing so, we'll just click on it, and they have hundreds of thousands of fonts to choose from. So I like to do a mix of serif and sans serif. So first we're going to find the sans serif, and sans serif is basically just a font that does not have the little feet on the edges. I prefer something a little bit more modern, a little bit more simple, so I'm kind of adjusting my search based off the thickness and the width. And it's all personal preference as far as what you think. So I really like Railway as my sans serif. You can see that it does have 18 styles, so different ranges of thickness and size. Now we're going to go for a serif that I'm probably going to use for my title and my name. So here, kind of just adjusting as far as what I'm looking for. The crimson text is nice. It has 6 styles. I sometimes like a little bit more as far as options, but we'll go from there. You can actually type in whatever word that you think you're going to use in that font, click apply all, and it'll show you everything, all the different fonts in that specific type. So I downloaded a second one, Playfair Display. It's very commonly used in the design industry, but it's very simple, similar to Times New Roman. So I'm going to download them all and then unload the zip file. I'm going to quickly do this for all of the ones that I think I'm going to use, but you can click on the TFF file, which is the True Type Font file. If you click on it, it'll open a little text box. You click Install Font, and that'll automatically download that font to your computer. Most fonts are free on Google Fonts, although there are some that you do have to pay for. So now we're going to go ahead and change the type on my page to one of the fonts that I chose. We're going to kind of go between the crimson text or the Playfair Display. I'm going to kind of mess around with the bold, seeing which one I like best. Now you can see play for display at the 48 point was too big, so I made it to the 36. I only downloaded the regular, but I think it looks good for right now. I might want to make it a little bit more bold, but we can do that later. There we go. That looks better. You want your name to be the biggest thing on the page that they see. Checking to make sure everything is centered and to my liking. Now I'm going to create a character style. So I'm going to click that little page turn, and that's going to say new character style. I'm going to name it. But before I do that, we're going to go ahead and put in all of our information. So regular 48 point font. Leading and tracking, you can just put auto and 0. It's not really necessary right now. And just make sure it's normal case. We'll change that name to title. And click OK. And you can also preview your fonts too to make sure that it is the right thing that you want. So now I'm going to do the same thing with my subtitles and my body text. I'm just going to create new character styles so that way when I go to apply them to everything else, I don't have to continue to click on the font size, the type of font, how much spacing I want between each letter, although right now we are just doing auto and 0. It'll give you a better understanding of what the fonts are going to look like, but it's not going to take nearly as long to change all of your fonts. Now you can see as I use my direct selection tool, I select each text box and I just click on each text box and click the character style that I want it to apply to that text box. So it makes changing your font types really easy. Now, you can see over on relevant experience, I have a hyphen. I don't want a hyphen. So I'm quickly going to go ahead and do all of the body text stuff. But to get rid of the hyphen, you can click on the 3 little lines up top in that corner by your name of the screen on the right hand side, and you can click hyphenate and undo all the hyphens in the document. So right now I'm currently just adjusting everything. I decided I wanted to add some bold and italicized words with as far as the titles of my relevant experience and my education. So just going ahead and editing, you can play around within the program. I decided I want something a little bit more bold, but I don't have a bold font, so we're going to add a stroke, which is basically just an outline around the text in a certain color, and to make it look bold, I'm just using black. You can mess with the weight size, how thick you want it, so the higher the number, the thicker the line. We're just going to do a 0.25 because I don't want it to be too thick. As you can see right now, my layout is still very simple, very black and white, but everything is balanced, everything is even. There's not one side that has more information than the other, which is very important. So we're going to continue checking while using our W key to check without all the grids and margins. So now we're going to go back into our type tool. I'm going to make another text box, and this is where I'm going to put my contact information. So I'm going to add my email address, my phone number. If you have a personal website, it would be great to add that because you can post a lot of your work on there and they will go look at it. I'm going to go ahead and center that and get that all formatted to my liking, making sure I'm choosing the correct fonts that I want. And always check without the margins and the grids because it's very important to see where everything is falling on the paper. Now you can see my name, the text box is kind of above the page. I want to make sure my name is flushed to the top of the margin. So because my name doesn't hit the top of the text box, that is why the text box goes above the margin itself. So we change character styles. I want to add a stroke to make this a little thicker. So again, adding 1/4 of a point. Then I decided I didn't like it. So you can always remove things and take things away. But I think I'm going to make it a little bit of a semi-bold because that font style did come with that option. We're looking a little bland, and I think my relevant experience is a little too high up. So we're going to go ahead and move a few things around. But I do want to add some color first. So we're going to take that rectangular frame tool, and I'm going to make a frame over my name and my information. And by clicking that box, we are going to create color. I don't like any of the colors that are shown in that palette, so we are going to double click on that, and it's going to give you swatch options. You can create your own color by mixing the 4 different ink colors that come in your printer. So cyan, magenta, yellow. As you can see, as I play with the sliders, the colors are changing. You can preview the color on the paper as shown. So I think for me personally, I love pink. I like a peachy pink. It's fun, it's exuberant, but it's not overly unprofessional if it's used in the right setting. So I'm going to go with something a little bit more peachy. Now obviously this is covering my name, so we're going to change the opacity and bring it down. But as you can see, it's still covering my name. So we're going to go into layers real quick, and you're going to do the drop down arrow on your layer. Now that is going to be all the information that is currently, all the text boxes and everything that's in your document. I'm going to bring that rectangle all the way down to the bottom. By doing that, it puts the rectangle below the text versus above. Now that looks kind of great. It has color to it. It looks nice, but I don't think it's quite enough color. I think that we could add a little pop of something else. So I'm going to do another frame over my objectives and skills and all of that, education, and we're going to make that a bit of a darker pink. Now that's way too bright for me. Sometimes with the peaches, tans look great too, so we might kind of go for like a lighter color, but and again, just messing around. It's all trial and error. I hit okay, but I wasn't really a fan of that color. Brought it to the top, and I don't think the peach really goes well with it. So, and I really like the peach. So we're going to go back into that color, double click, and I'm going to make it a little bit more pink. I don't want anything too bright, but I do want it to make a statement. So I'm going to go back into my layers. I'm going to take that and I'm going to drag it all the way down. You can play with the different rectangles over one another. Again, the opacity and the way they lay on the image is going to change what they look like when they're layered. That's something that I like. But now my objective, education, relevant experience, and skills are flushed to the margin, and it doesn't look right when it's not centered with the column that it's in. So I'm going to make my information just a little bit smaller because I want my name to be centered on the top margin as well, but I want that box in the corner where the 2 frames are connecting to be blank. So I'm going to change the font size. I'm checking all my errors, seeing if it's just the oversized text. You can check that in your pre-flight panel, and that'll kind of bring you to each frame that has an error. So it is just the oversized text, as you can see. So we're going to go ahead and change that. I'm going to make that a little smaller. Now you do have to highlight the text. So you can see I just tried opening the type. It's not going to work. So you have to highlight and then change the size. You're going to have to do that for each portion that pops back up into the space. A little tedious, but gets the job done. And I'm going to continue to flush that up to the top of the margin and move that up so my information is all seen. Now you can see that the peach box goes past the 1/2 inch margin. We don't want that, so we're going to go ahead and change that in just a moment. But first we're going to go ahead and just center that. So by holding down shift, I'm selecting all of my text boxes and clicking center. You can also do that in your character margin as well. So again, always checking with the W key just to see everything of how it's going to look without the text box. I don't want my pink to hit directly to all of my types. So we're going to change that a little bit. I'm making everything smaller. Again, clicking shift and selecting everything so that I can just make it all just a tad bit smaller. Now by holding shift, it's going to make everything smaller proportionately. So we're going to go ahead and go back, and then I'm going to do so and make that all smaller without holding shift. And that way it just adjusts the width and not everything in proportion. So it looks like everything's good so far, so good. I'm going to make, again, my relevant experience, bring that down a little bit and kind of just adjust the layout how I see fit. As you can see, it's kind of all snapping to where it needs to be. And those little green arrows on the side, as you can see where I'm dragging everything down, it's just making sure that everything is even, showing you where certain spacing matches up as far as size. The one great thing I love about InDesign is that because of the grids, it does help with making everything even. It makes everything a lot easier to move around. You do have a little bit more freedom than Design versus Word, but it's a little bit more user-friendly once you get the hang of it. So I'm clicking W, checking the entire thing. You can do Command and the hyphen key, and that'll zoom you out so you can see the whole document in one screen. And I'm fixing that top margin that I mentioned earlier about it being a little too high. So we're going to go ahead and fix that, make sure everything's half-inch margins, and then go ahead and we're going to move my name down as well as the information so that that is all centered. As you can see there, it looks a little weird, flushed all the way to the top. So now that my margins look better, we're going to go ahead and fix and center my name and my contacts. And you can always move it with your arrow keys, the text boxes. Sometimes visually, even though your grids will snap a certain way, sometimes visually it looks a little bit better if you do it manually. But that's what it looks like, the finished product, something super simple with a little pop of color. Again, you have so much freedom to mess around with InDesign. But right now we're going to go ahead and save. So once you save the actual document, I've already done that. We're going to go and package it. This is so you can export it as a PDF and you can also edit on other computers. So you're just going to hit continue, package, save as, wherever you want to save it, and click package. With InDesign, if you don't package a document, as I've already done, I'm not going to replace it. But if you don't package it, you can't move the fonts if you're traveling to a different computer. So there's that. You have your file. If you do want to send this, your INDD file is what you'll use to edit, and your PDF file is what can print, what can be shown when you want to go ahead and hand out that resume. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you learned something today, and thank you so much for watching. That compression is what you'll use to send to other people.